Hello, I'm Vanessa Ryle and welcome to The Arena Show, brought to you by thegaitpost.com. Now, with eventing around the corner, it is safe to say that we are all a little bit overexcited. It's the start of a new season and we can't wait for the action to begin. Bearing that in mind, we have a arena show for you this time, which is pretty much jam-packed with all things eventing. We have a feature with our super groom, Alex van Tuyll, who's got some more top tips for us. We also have a training exercise with Caroline Moore. And on top of that, we have our competition. And this time around, it is an opportunity for you guys to win a Mark Todd collection rug for you and a friend. You need to head over to our Facebook page to be able to enter that, but it's a great opportunity. And whilst we're on the subject of Sir Mark Todd, we sent Hannah Brooke Lawson down to visit the maestro for our feature interview.
This rider needs no introduction. They have 2 Olympic gold medals to their name and have competed at the Olympic Games 6 times. That's on top of 5 Burghley wins and an impressive 4 wins at Badminton Horse Trials. Yeah, you've guessed it, it's the legendary Sir Mark Todd. I'm here at his homing yard, Badgerstown, on the edge of the Marlborough Downs to chat to the legend himself. So Mark, thank you so much for having us here today. What a beautiful day. So let's start off with you being in the sport. You've been around for over five decades now. And how has the sport of eventing changed in your eyes?
Well, obviously, since the late 70s when I first started till now, it's changed enormously. In many different aspects as well. I mean, back in the late 70s, it was very much an amateur sport. There was virtually no professional riders. People just, it was a sport for fun. The courses were different. Obviously, we had the long format then, and horses were different, and courses were different, and it was almost a totally different sport.
So when you're saying a longer format, you had the road and tracks?
Yeah, we had roads and tracks and steeplechase and all that, but that all went at the turn of the century. I am a bit of a traditionalist. I love the idea of the long format and the challenges it represents. Yeah. And I think with the short format, I think we've lost a bit of the horsemanship that was involved in preparing a horse for top level 3-day eventing. But on the plus side of it, I think the horses last longer. They can run more often. We tend to have less injuries. So from that aspect of it, I think it's an improvement.
So the faster pace and shorter format, in your eyes, you think is working?
I think it does work, yeah. I mean, it worries me slightly that they keep wanting to change it more and more and more. I think in the current format with the CIC or short format and the CCI or longer format works pretty well.
Yeah, okay. And do you think that's all part of making eventing as a sport more commercially viable?
Well, obviously that's one thing that the sport has to try and do, is keep up with the times, and there's a lot of other sports out there trying to grab TV time and audiences, and we've got to showcase our sport in the best possible way to grab our share of that audience.
And do you think we're going about it the right way as we are at the moment?
In some aspects, like I say, I don't like what they're doing with the sport at the Olympics, bringing it down to 3 riders. They still haven't really decided how that's going to work, and I myself can't see it working in a good way. I hope that they do listen to the people that are involved in the day-to-day running of the sport. The owners, the riders, the sponsors, I hope they listen to what they want and just don't go off on a tangent and completely change it on a whim.
And cutting down to 3 from 4 riders, how will that impact the sport? Why is it bad in your opinion?
Well, because in our sport, you know, there are so many things that can go wrong, and at the moment, you know, or up till now, we've had 4 riders with a discard score. And quite often, you know, teams will only finish with 3, and if you only start with 3, and then you sort of have you can bring in another rider at some point, or you can give them a score and they can carry on. I think it just makes a mockery of the sport, and is certainly not what it was set out to achieve.
Sure. Do you think there's a danger of it sort of trying to rival the likes of its sister in show jumping?
Yeah, but it can't, because we're a different sport. I mean, we're not racing, we're not polo, we're not show jumping, we're not dressage. We're our own sport, and we should have our own rules, and we do to a certain extent. But you know, you can't just lump all equestrian sports into one and say, you know, this is how you should all behave.
And looking at the sport as well in comparison to the likes of racing and jumping and polo, the prize money is not on a par with those sports. Do you think that's influential in getting top riders and horses? And
but this is where, you know, eventing has lagged behind. You know, in show jumping they had the global tour, which absolutely took off, which was something started outside of the FEI until they sort of jumped on the bandwagon. But in eventing we also have now the Event Rider Masters, which has been, for me, a big innovation within the sport. It's certainly not there yet, and it needs more development and it needs more support from riders and everybody involved in it, but it's going along the right ways. And you know, if we can get more money into the sport by making it more attractive to a wider audience through television and live streaming, then it can only be a positive.
I think it's safe to say that Mark Todd interview is pretty fascinating, and we have the second part of that interview coming up later in the show for you guys. Now it is time to head over to our super groom, Alex van Tuyll, who has more pre-event prep for you.
Right, Mystery's mane is maybe not as clean, so I give it a little dampen down so it's easier to divide the sections up. So just under half the width of the comb. Now when I plait, I pull it quite tight, but not tight that it's uncomfortable, so there's a little bit of pressure so that when I come to roll the plait up, it is nice and firm. I plait the whole way to the bottom. Mystery, if you come here, there we go. Needle and thread, from underneath the top, pull it right to the end, secure it by going round once. Now you've got a secure plait. Tuck the tail under, wrap the cotton round once. Mischief, come here, good girl. And then lift it up and pull it slightly towards you, just so that it's nice and straight and tight. There's quite a bit of tension in it. And then literally just roll it up like a little ball. Misty, come here. There we go.
Now it's time to actually put down the gin and tonic for a moment and concentrate on something a little bit more serious. So we head over to the National Under-18 and Junior European team coach, Caroline Moore, who has a super useful, super helpful tip for us.
Course designers are always going to be testing the horse and rider on the landing, whether it's a turn to a skinny, whether or not it's an angle or a corner. So what I've built here in this exercise is a single vertical, and then it's going to be a turning line to a skinny fence. We're going to have one to the right and one to the left. The important thing here is we're going to turn left to start with, so I'm walking you through the correct line. I'm going to jump it right of centre. The reason being, it gives you options on the landing. It makes you more accurate with your line, and it also encourages the horse to land on the correct lead. Gives you a lot more space. We're turning to this skinny here, which is actually fairly narrow off a tight turn. We're going to do this exercise from both directions. We have a skinny to the other direction exactly the same. As a rider, to ride this exercise, you're going to come right of centre here, and you can see here the rider just does that, and also she's looking to the new direction. So that's really important for what you must do. You would leg yield off the left leg very slightly, and again that will put the horse into the right rein, and then as you can see here, you would look to the new direction and keep the horse's eyesight on the new fence. From the inside line, exactly the same way, you can see how you would really use a good inside leg to help secure the balance here to make sure the horse doesn't fall in on the inside shoulder. So we're going to come from the other direction this time, coming off the left rein, turning right, so left of centre, and you need to do what the rider's doing here and turn your head to the new direction. You want to be leg yielding off the right leg very slightly. That puts the horse into the correct balance, onto the correct lead. And again, controlling with the outside shoulder, as you can see here, you need to make sure that you follow that through with your eyesight and look to the new direction. Looking at it from the inside here, again, you can see the eye fixed to the new direction and the rider riding very positively and securely to that little skinny fence there. And even though you're in an indoor school here, finish your turn off by looking to the new direction. Making sure that you don't allow a drift on the approach line is the most important thing of this exercise. The approach to the first fence secures the landing and the getaway to the next fence, and that's the most important thing to remember there. Keep your eye up, look to the new direction, and don't allow yourself to fall to the inside, because the horse will then fall onto the inside shoulder.
Thanks again to Caroline Moore, because those exercises are incredibly helpful, and we have some similar tips coming up for you in the coming episodes, so stay tuned for that. Now it's time for a quick break, which gives me time for a refill. I was also delighted to hear that Emily King has been made a brand ambassador for Pinkster Gin. So not that I need another excuse, but I'll be seeing her a little bit more this summer. Thank you very much. Now we're going to head back to Hannah Brooke Lawson, who is with Sir Mark Todd for the second part of our feature interview.
So what would you suggest for the sport going forward?
I don't want to see the format changed anymore. I think, as I said, what Event Rider Masters is trying to do in presenting it in a better way, getting to know the characters involved in the sport, giving them personalities, giving the horses personalities. The commentaries, the way it's filmed and everything like that can make it a lot more exciting. You know, the people that were involved with doing Event Riders Masters, they weren't equestrian-based TV company, and they said, you know, wow, this sport is really exciting, but it hasn't in the past been portrayed as such. And you know, if they can make darts look exciting on TV, surely they can make our sport look a bit more exciting.
So Mark, what are your aspirations for 2018? Where can we expect to see you this season?
Well, I've got my sort of team of older boys now. I've got Campino and Leonidas, who will both be entered at badminton. I also have a horse called Kilterbid Rhapsody, who did his first 4-star at Poe, and he will also be entered at badminton. So I'll only be able to ride 2, so we'll have to see a bit further down the track which 2 end up going there. I want to target the Event Rider Master Series again. So I've got those 3 horses, as well as probably my most exciting young horse, a horse called McLaren, who went from novice to 3-star last year. He will go to Samoa, and of course we've got the World Equestrian Games this year, which is, I think I'm looking forward to. You know, it changed venues last year, and it's now in Tryon, America, and the reports are that at the moment that accommodation is going to be a scarcity, to say the least. I'm not even sure there's anything built there at the moment. So,
Equine or human?
Human.
So far your career has been absolutely outstanding. You took retirement in 2000 and then came back in 2008 to Beijing Olympics and did incredibly well there. Did you ever see yourself, when you first started out, that your life and your career would go in this way, and a knighthood to top it all off?
No. I mean, you know, when I started off, you know, I was a farming boy from New Zealand, and who liked riding horses, and I thought, well, you know, I can have a bit of fun and follow my passion for a bit, but I never even thought of it as a career in the beginning. So, and then, you know, I obviously had considerable success, and then retired, never thinking that I would ever come back again.
Really?
And, you know, here I am 10 years later after a comeback. So, yeah. I won't be retiring and coming back again, I can tell you that.
And so how influential were the New Zealand bloodstock in supporting you when you came back from retirement?
They're incredibly influential, because without their support I wouldn't have done it. I was training for Sir Peter Vella, training racehorses in New Zealand, the principal of New Zealand bloodstock, and I posed the question to him, would he be interested in supporting my attempt to get to Beijing Olympics, which I knew was held in Hong Kong, and New Zealand bloodstock have a lot of thoroughbred interests in Hong Kong, so I thought there was a tie-up there. And to my surprise, he agreed. And you know, if he hadn't agreed, then I probably wouldn't have done it, so I wouldn't be sitting here now.
And so what would your one word of advice be to all of our viewers, young and old?
God, that's a difficult one. Advice on what?
Well, talking of your career and how amazing it's been and how you weren't expecting it at all, with horses in mind.
I mean, I think, you know, horses are a passion. You know, you don't. I don't think in eventing you do this necessarily for money. You don't do it for the glory. You do it because you love doing it, and I think, you know, from that respect, I've been incredibly lucky to be able to, you know, follow my passion and make a living out of it. You know, there's a great bunch of people involved. You know, the camaraderie in eventing is incredible, and I think people wanting to get into it you know, it is a great sport to be involved with, but as with anything, if you want to be successful, you know, it takes a lot of hard work. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's probably more downs than ups. So that's one thing I've learned over the years is, you know, when you do have a bit of success, you know, celebrate it, because it might be a while before the next one comes along. And don't let the downs get you down, because, you know, you've just got to put your head down, work through it, and it'll come around again.
Brilliant. Sir Mark Todd, thank you so much for your time today.
Very good. Thank you.
Breaking down can be a scary situation, let alone when you have horses on board. Being horse owners, Shearwater understand the urgency of getting you and your horse recovered as quickly and as safely as possible. Shearwater offer a variety of breakdown covers from roadside assistance to home rescue, key replacement and overnight stabling for your horses should it be needed. We pride ourselves on getting you moving as soon as possible. Put your insurance in the hands of the experts at Shearwater.
It's safe to say that, as standard, Sir Mark Todd has given us some serious food for thought there, and we really appreciate the time that he gave us to sit down and do that interview. And whilst we were there filming as well, we actually did a training exercise, which will be in one of the forthcoming Arena Show episodes, so stay tuned for that. And whilst we're on the topic of Sir Mark Todd, it's competition time. We are giving away 2 Mark Todd collection rugs. That's one for you and one for a friend. And all you have to do is head over to our Facebook page, check out how to enter. It's dead simple, and you could win a Mark Todd collection rug for you and one of your pals. Now it's time for the news section, and there are some great new features on the Gaitpost.com, so head over there to check them out. One of which is how to perform under pressure. Flexing your performance muscles. Sarah Hesseltine spoke to performance coach Sarah Milne-Rowe about the key steps required to raise your performance under pressure by building your own personal pressure package. You also have Pumba, the undergrad eventer, who's given her latest blog, and she has been hunting in Ireland, so there's plenty of entertainment there. There is 8 life hacks for life in the lorry, and there's some pretty cool tips that will help you get through life on the road a little bit smoother. There's also some top tips for preventing scarring, because let's be honest, most horse owners have at some point found themselves in a situation where their horse has injured itself, and so have a read of that because it's pretty useful. And one of my favourite features is the Trucking Fun playlist. 10 hours of belting tunes to make your journey in the lorry more fun. So whether you've got to drive all night, are chasing cars, running up that hill, or living on a prayer, then just don't stop believing and always look on the bright side of life, because we've got something for you. And with the eventing season kicking off, why don't you share your news and how you get on with us, because we would love to hear. So head over to thegaitpost.com, where there is our event guide, and you can go to all the events that you've been to. You can leave comments and feedback, and we read them all. So if you've had a funny incident or a success or a failure, anything, just write it in the comments box for the event you've been to. And if it's really funny, we might read it out on the next episode of the Arena Show. It would be nice to have a bit of interaction with you guys. Also, head over to our Instagram, because on our Instagram, there's some great sort of behind the scenes action, and there's lots of stories on there and lots of different posts. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. Also give us a follow on Twitter, and as always, like our Facebook page. Don't forget, Facebook is where you can enter the competition to win the Mark Todd rugs for you and a friend. So make sure you do that. And I'd just like to say thanks for watching, basically, because our last episode had over 75,000 views across our media platforms, which is pretty impressive. That was one with Laura Collett. If you haven't seen that already, it's on our YouTube channel. Subscribe whilst you're there. But yeah, just wanted to say a big thanks, because myself and the team at the Gaitpost are loving producing and presenting these arena shows, and we really love the fact that you're enjoying them too. So that's it for us. Make sure you keep this between you, me, and the Gaitpost. Cheers, guys. Yeah?